Right, that might be a bit better, but for some reason I still can't get this working as it should be working, as in it's, like I tried setting it up in OBS and it just isn't working right. So let me just delete the one that didn't work just now, so people don't go on that and then go, oh, you said you were coming back on. There we go. So, yeah, like I said, for some reason, there's meant to be software included with this particular webcam that you can use to stream. I tried using that, and then it doesn't detect my webcam. If I go into the thing that does let me mess about with my webcam, I can't find an option to, set the stream key up or anything. So basically, I think I can, when I'm not on a thing, I can get all the webcam looking as I want it. But as soon as I start streaming, I think it screws up. Actually, let me just try the Logi thing. So not Logitech Capture, because that doesn't work. It can do everything else but my thing. But let's see. All right, Rajiv, you're actually on now. That's good. No, camera preview is not available. You can still adjust the settings. So if I do zoom, cool. So right, that's good. So I can actually mess about with the settings. Okay, so this is actually quite useful because I can mess with the things here. So I can put the brightness up, for example. There we go. Contrast. Oh, don't know if that looks good or bad having the contrast up. Saturation. I have it far too colourful. Sharpness. I like sharpness high, but most people won't. So I'll put that down. There we go. Sharpness is probably a bit high before. It's currently on autofocus. You can do manual focus on this, but I don't know how you would then tell it where you want it to focus. Oh, I see. It gives you a slider, so you can do that. Let's just keep it on autofocus. And crop is about where I want it. All right, delete it. Yeah, there's way too much junk in the background. Right, at least the picture quality doesn't look shit now, because that was the problem I was having just before, and hopefully you can hear me all right, because like I said, yeah, I had to get one, Caesar, because I should still have quite a good anchor webcam somewhere, and I can't find it for the life of me. And what's really bloody annoying is one of the good things I've got that works as a webcam, Windows doesn't recognize anymore. So I've got all those problems, where I'll try and set stuff up where it says you need to use a webcam, then it refuses. Yeah, cheers. I was just having to mess about with it because YouTube didn't start the stream for everyone to start with, so I barely had anyone on for about 5-10 minutes. And then I was having a lot of issues getting the two things to talk to each other, like getting Windows, the webcam, and YouTube to all sync properly. So the picture thing looked atrocious, but I figured out what was causing that now. You can go even wider on this, but then you'd see how much fucking more crap my room is. 1 second. With stuff. So it does do 90 degrees there, look. And yeah, you've got the 90 degrees bit is actually pretty good. You can see a rubbish bin to my side there. You can see all the shit all over the floor. So I won't keep it. I'll keep it at 78 because it doesn't look as bad like that. But yeah, it does do not 90 degrees wide angle without fish eyeing, which is quite good. Because like I said, I was able to use this for webcam streams, that really annoyingly now, lots of shit with Windows doesn't, even when I set this up in the webcam mode, lots of things refuse to recognize it now. Like you can use it with OBS and then stream to YouTube, but YouTube's little drop down refuses to see it. I've had other things where if you're trying to use a camera plugged into the computer, they won't let you use yeah. There are options I can play about with in that. So exposure, I can put HDR on and off. So that's HDR off. I don't know if that looks better or worse, probably worse. There's low light compensation is currently on, so I can flick that off. I don't know if that's going to make any difference at all to the thing. Auto exposure is currently on. I can turn that off and change the shutter speed. So obviously that will affect, yeah, that. So let's put the shutter speed to that. And the ISO, I can obviously put out with the ISO up. So let's put the ISO pretty low, but the shutter speed to about medium. I'll just do auto exposure again. And then, yeah, I think there was something else. You can do in this all the, like, so if I turn the contrast, again, you can do all the contrast settings on this and everything. So whether or not that's why it looks a bit blown out, whatever. Because brightness I've got higher than it should be anyway. But and like I was saying, I can have the saturation stupidly high and look kind of pinky orange coloured. And like I said, you can put the sharpness up horribly so everything goes grainy, which I think was the problem to begin with. It was doing this when I was trying to, it had the sharpness too high. So let's put the sharpness to 50%, say. Let's just put on the default setting. Right, this is it on its completely default setting for that. The exposure, let's put the exposure to default as well. So it looks a bit more Vaseline-y with my face now, where everything looks quite smooth, but yeah. So yeah, I've got the Ingsoc shirt that I set up, like not set up, so I bought specifically for stuff where we talk about Britain. There was another prop I bought for talking about modern Britain as well. This. So we've got our little clown world clown horn. I know it's technically an old bicycle horn. It's actually a brand new one, but yeah, I was like, oh, I'm going to need to buy one of these like little trumpety things, because yeah, might just take the bracket off of it if I'm not using it with a bicycle. I just have to completely unscrew that armor. So yeah, but what's good color coordination? What the shirt? I mean, the shirt is just the shirt as it was. Is it possible to take this little lug off now? Because that's right-wing thuggery, you honking at me like that. Yep. So yeah, good. So that's that. Like I said, these brackets I'll keep together. I wonder if I can use one of those in my mic thing later to actually make that a better fit. That might actually even work for this mic stand. Again, I keep turning the light off by accident doing that. But yeah, like I was saying, the problem is with this mic stand is the actual arm's good, but the bit this attaches to is very loose compared to the desk stand. Oh, the shirt match. Oh, it is English socialism. Ingsoc, English socialism in Newspeak. Although, again, I think that's just meant to be quite Nazi-ish sort of colours, or, any other kind of oppressive regimes. I'm all right, David. Spent time with my granddad today, so I thought I had that annoying thing recently where I wanted to be streaming yesterday or whatever, and then our internet kept going down. Bug out bike. I have got a bike, but I haven't got it set up for bug out stuff. The problem with my bike, it has a really annoying chain on it, as in it probably needs a replacement chain, but even with like enough links taken out, it's pretty good at jumping off the gears. So it's one of those things, where it just pisses me off the chain, so I don't use my bike much at the moment because of the fact that, you can be cycling fine, then you change gears and the chain pops off. So yeah, even though I've taken enough links out the chain, you can't really shorten it any further and have it work on all the gears. I'm assuming it's a chain that just doesn't sit very well on the teeth of the gears on the bike. Anyway, so thought we'd just have a stream for a bit. So what's been in Clown World British news? UK's third largest steelworks collapse is into government control. Hundreds of Liberty steel workers in Rotherham and Sheffield face an uncertain future. Okay, so that just adds on to other stuff. We've got record 111,000 UK asylum applications in past year, as well as what do you call it? Other stuff to do with that. With I think it was like the worst year so far, isn't it, for illegal crossings? And the government going, oh, we just need to buy up all the houses now that British people should have to Yep. Remember, like we said, wasn't Labour meant to save people's jobs? Oh no, 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 no. You know, they are literally the Tories, just pretending to be socialists, but they're not socialist. So yeah, like I said, we've got the total clown world UK politics. So yeah, that's that. And yeah, it's, the UK is basically every day there's another news story that makes you go, oh my god. So I'm just going to finish my coffee before it goes cold. It had gone cold, but oh well. So yeah, that's that. Assume with these that the bit there is like the bellows that when you squeeze it pulls air in, and then obviously as you release it, the air comes back out. I assume that's how a horn works. But yeah. Not leather specifically, David. I don't know about, but I do know with like I've used it quite well on a lot of other materials, and like I said, silicon lubricant. If you get the stuff that doesn't have any additives in, tends to work all right on leather. Obviously, it's you mostly use it on rubbers and things, but I have found it polishes, like leather up quite well and gets a bit of dry rot out of it. Obviously, if the leather's really aged and cracked, there might not be anything you can do. It's technically a percussion instrument because, like I said, I used to play piano. But yeah, it has strings that are hit by hammers. So yeah, you could argue either way, but technically it's a percussion instrument. But yeah, that's even though the weird thing with pianos is they don't really sound like it's a string instrument, do they? Like a harpsichord does, but um, and piano is actually short for pianoforte, which is quiet loud because you can play it quiet or loud. So because some of the instruments back then similar to the piano, like I assume the harpsichord like was like that, that it didn't matter how hard you pressed the key. I think it was always the same volume. Whereas a piano, the lighter you press the key, the less strength the hammer has hitting the string, so therefore it's not as loud. So pianoforte. Everyone just calls it a piano because it's easier. I haven't played in ages, but I'd still be able to play basic stuff. And then if I got, more into it, I'd be able to play properly. Because it's one of those things that you don't totally lose your ability to do it, even if you've not done it in a while. Like when I start messing about with a piano or keyboard, a lot of stuff comes back to me pretty quick. Um, although I can read sheet music, I'm always better at playing by ear than sheet music, as in listening to stuff and trying to figure out the keys rather than, reading sheet music. Even like I said, I can read sheet music. It's one of those things I find is a bit, especially when you get sheet music where rather than being done, I don't know what the proper way of saying this is, but where you have like the bass clef and the treble clef, where somebody just starts putting it really low lines or really high lines above the other one rather than shifting it. That's cool, David. Yeah, but like I said, it definitely shouldn't hurt leather silicon lubricant. But like I said, there probably is proper leather treating products that restain the leather and hydrate the leather. But like I said, I wouldn't really know. That's all right. Yeah, like I said, you paid for them technically, but there you go. Yeah, like I said, I had to Like I said, the most difficulty I had doing it was actually just where the external Blu-ray drive was giving a bit of a problem, ripping the disc. It worked eventually, but again, it is a shame I find that you don't get PCs anymore with the modern, like, because this case had a space for it, but the way they did the racking in it made it really hard to take out components in the front rack because they're kind of like blocked by all the drives, and I didn't want to take those out to mess about with the front racks. But yeah, it's a shame now that so many modern cases don't even have front rack slots for USBs or like CD, DVD, Blu-ray drives. It seems to be one of those things that have died out. So while you can get the external drives, I find they're just not as good as having an internal drive. Yeah, like I said, this case is like nearly the entire front of it is just kind of a nice looking mesh for fans, and then there's a tiny little bit at the top where there used to be a USB rack and the USB rack I put in myself, and the Blu-ray rack was one that I ordered with the PC. But yeah, thank you GT7X7. We're not allowed this flag anymore, so it definitely needs to Yeah, my mum, when she got a laptop recently, doesn't have a disk drive, but she's got one of the multimedia, like Blu-ray ones, like I have, and they are pretty good. As in, you just plug it in via USB-C or USB-A, and then you've got the, like the USB slots in them, the Blu-ray disk drive bit on them, and normally memory card slots. Yeah, exactly. Like the problem as well with this case is as it's getting old, the front slots on my case, if you wiggle the desk a bit too much, the USBs come loose. So the webcam touchwood is pretty good working at the moment. But that is another problem that I can have with this webcam is that if the table gets jostled a bit or any of the things plugged into the front slot, you lose connection. Trump suggests Ukraine should attack Russia to win war. Oh, I heard a bit about this earlier. Because Taco can't decide, can he, if he loves Putin or whatever, or wants to be helping Ukraine. So I'll do it in the voice. Donald Trump has suggested it would be impossible for Ukraine to win the war without attacking Russia. The US president also criticized his predecessor, Joe Biden, for not granting Kiev permission to fight back in an ambiguous social media post. He proceeded to share a picture of himself poking Vladimir Putin in the chest above an image of Richard Nixon doing the same to Nikita Khrushchev, the former prime minister of the Soviet Union. And then he said, "It is very hard, if not impossible, to win a war without attacking an invader's country. It's like a great team in sports that has a fantastic defense, but is not allowed to play offense. There's no chance of winning. It's like that with Ukraine and Russia," Mr. Trump wrote in his Truth Social website. "Crooked and grossly incompetent Joe Biden would not let Ukraine fight back, only defend. How did that work out?" So yeah, but is he now going to let Ukraine buy US weapons and give them permission to fire them into Russian targets? Yeah, it's the same reason, isn't it, Hype, that CDs you can still rip in really good lossless audio format compared to like MP3 files. Yeah, I know what you mean, Rajiv. But yeah, that's the thing. For some films I really like, Hype, I have actually bought them on Blu-ray just because the picture quality is noticeably better on a really good monitor than it is if you're watching, a streaming service with the film on. Especially like the more HDR-y kind of things, where you have like lots of contrast between black and white. Doctor Strangelove is actually one that looks really good on Blu-ray because of how good the black and white contrast is. Yeah, thank you. I bought it because it's relevant to the country now, isn't it? Oh, you dirty bitch, Rajiv. You're a 4K and 35mm whore. You slut. Yeah. Yeah, there was a huge file size thing for the Star Wars project that people did, wasn't there? Where they put Star Wars in, ripped the old 35mm reels of Star Wars. Yep. You can't fight in here. This is the war room. You're a bit of 70mm now. That's getting excessive. But yeah, so like I was saying, so yeah, this webcam should be good, but I need to hope that when I do webcam streams with it, YouTube actually shares it, because the problem I've noticed is obviously if I use my phone and stream via my phone and use like the selfie camera, YouTube for vertical videos now is much better at sharing them. But the obviously annoying thing is you can have a good microphone and you can have a good camera, but you can't really use them if you're doing a phone stream. I know I can plug this microphone technically into my phone, but whatever. You know what I'm getting at. The especially because this is like a nice wider thing, so it's easier to show stuff off on camera. But yeah, so I might just use this for doing videos as well, because like I said, the nice thing of one of these is if I want to do a longer style YouTube video, because again, although I know with my phone I can turn it around doing it, it's easier if you're just doing the talking type video to do it in front of a webcam like this. Cheers, Blippity Blop. Like I said, I purposely got another English flag, St. George's flag, just because of how anal the government's been getting about, oh, in Birmingham you can't put the flag up, but we won't, you know, we have money to take flags down, but we won't take your bins away. But yeah, what was I saying before that? I've completely lost what I was fucking saying. Oh yeah, doing a YouTube video. So if I want to do a YouTube video that isn't one I'm filming with a proper camera, I can at least then do a longer one than the short in, you know, landscape using this webcam. Because the problem, like I've said before, with a lot of the stuff now is that shorts tend to be shared a lot more by YouTube, but I don't think you get a lot of people necessarily subscribe from shorts or, you know, watch more of your stuff, and the ad revenue is awful in shorts. You know, it's like one of my shorts has way more views than my most popular old video, like the top 10 gas masks one or whatever. But the ad revenue is less than 10% of it for having way more views. Yeah. Although, what do you bet a load of the councils, Caesar, are just going to like try and pressure wash the thing off rather than filling in the potholes? But I do think that's a good idea, putting the St. George's flag on, or the Union Jack on the pothole to force the like bastards that blatantly hate this country that are somehow in charge of it, and every council and everything to yeah. But yeah, I did see some of the good videos where there was even a bloke in a fucking cherry picker going along, putting the flag up on loads and loads of like really high lampposts to make it as hard as possible for people to take them down. Oh, and I did hear a really cuck response, which I'm going to read out. And it's, funnily enough, the person on Twitter doesn't let anybody reply to his tweet other than people that follow him. Sorry, he follows, or he is allowed to comment. So let me find this. I'm just going to read out what this bloke said. If I can find the I need to keep my phone screen out of view because there's some pretty filthy shit in this folder. All right, here we go. So I'm not telling anybody to do anything bad to this guy. I'm not inciting anything before it starts off. So it's a guy called Hal Crottendan, and he goes, reminds me of certain areas in Northern Ireland. When people feel insecure about their identity, they need to do this. It's a sign of weakness, not strength. And then, who can reply? Accounts at Hal Crottendan, and wherever he is, follows or mentions can reply. What a stupid fucking take that is. Oh, the only reason you like your flag is because you're insecure. So, like, to play it at his own game. So when people put like Palestinian flags or whatever in support of Palestine, is that because they feel insecure about Palestine? You know, Men of Harlem, like the bit in Zulu. I don't know. Rule Britannia, I don't know who it is yet. But yeah, it's the Streisand effect, isn't it? Where yeah, the more they try and counter it, the more it makes it funnier to keep doing it, and you know, pissing them off via doing it. I definitely agree with you there. I am actually very interested after this stream to see if I can use this on that microphone mount, not melt, to see if I can actually get a better tighter fit. Because this is roughly, I think that's roughly the inner bit, about the size the microphone thing needs. Yeah, flag. Like I said, your previous comment, they put the flags back up just higher and higher. So, yeah, it was harder for people to take them down. But yeah, like to quote, that's the point. I might have to see about getting an Amazon refund because I bought for my phone a proper tripod so I can have it in either direction where I'm filming, just so it's a bit more professional when I'm doing the videos of that. But now expected by 21st of August. So if it's not here by today, we're sorry. We're very sorry. Your delivery is late. If you've not received your package by today, you can come back here the next day for a refund. So yeah, something that should have come at the beginning of the week is now an entire week late. But Amazon have clearly lost it, but they don't want to give you a refund until like a week later. But yeah, it was just so because I had to look quite a lot for one that fits the big old brick, like strong phones rather than the ones made for like slimline phones. So I had to get quite a bulky tripod, but obviously one that works that way and that way round of like an extendable arm thing that grips it. It's just that way. I think I've had those in the past in selfie sticks, so it's just one of those things where typically, I've not got one handy when I want it. But and again, obviously, I can record with the DJIs and stuff like that. It's just quite often with YouTube stuff, it's just really fucking handy to just do bits on your phone and upload them straight to YouTube, especially for the shorts. But oh, the first Labour MP has called for the withdrawal of the ECHR, so an actual an actual proper maybe MP or one that knows that he's and Labour lost 1 in 10 of its signed up members last year, apparently. I think there was another thing I saw earlier about the record numbers of crossings and the government saying, "Oh, and now I can't put now people are complaining about fake refugees being put in hotels. Can we buy up all the cheap housing that regular people that live in this country want, and then give them to asylum chancers?" Again, completely not understanding why people hate these politicians. Capture Liberty Block, thanks for coming on. Like I said, I'm hoping next time I do one of these, it might work properly from the get-go. But at least the colours and everything look quite good on this now. Like I said, personally, I might turn the sharpness up slightly because, like I said, I'm a sucker for slightly higher sharpness. Let's do 55%. Yeah, I always like high sharpness on images. I don't mind the grain so much as having a good sharp image. But yeah. So like I said, UK is complete clown world. Oh, I've actually got this figure. I'm nice set on my desk. Oh, let's see how well the autofocus works on this. Actually, I think autofocus is on still. Let's see on the settings. Autofocus. Focus. It is autofocus. I can actually, at least with this, do manual focus. So, is that zoom? The focus there, I guess, is more the background, isn't it? So if I do it that way, is that up close focused, or is that too far the other way now? Yeah. So okay, so that's like distance. Its focus is actually pretty good on this camera for up close. Yeah, it's Art the Clown. The creepy fucking thing with this figurine is I'll put autofocus back on for now. It's probably, let's see if the autofocus kicks back in. There we go. Again, it's just because like it getting knocked around on the desk. But sometimes I have this in one position on the desk, and you come back and it's moved slightly. But I'm pretty sure because he hasn't killed me yet. I'm pretty sure that's just it being fucking knocked around with vibrations. That's cool, Kevin. Again, I don't know much about 1911 holsters, but what is it? Just an easier one, more comfortable one to wear and draw. I assume a tanker holster has to be pretty compact onto you, doesn't it? Because if you were inside a tank, you'd not want it sticking out and catching on anything. Well, actually, that interests me. With dosimeters, how well do they show up on this webcam? I need to, again, the problem is get a light behind it. Right, okay, hang on. Let's try this. I'm knocking the webcam. See, these are still really fucking annoying to film on camera. These old optical, yeah, because weirdly you can't have them too close to the camera lens. You actually seem to need these further away than that. Ah, that's pretty cool, Kevin. But yeah, like I said, the easiest way of showing these dosimeter pens now, I've got that old ROC charger, is to actually stick them in the ROC charger. And I'll put that back a bit because that's been knocked slightly when I there we go. Is to put them in the ROC charger, just put a flashlight next to it, and then film shooting down. Because at least when you do that, you can actually get a good exposure distance on them. But yeah, like I said, that's what would be really good. I doubt anybody does this because it'd be such a niche thing. But like a little light that clamps onto the end of these, so if you're holding up to the camera, there's just a convenient little light on them. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think there's really a market for that. So like I said, if I get that there, again, I don't think any of them are gonna really show up. That one's not too bad. Again, it's basically impossible to hold these steady by hand for a thing. You need it like set up in a vise. No, wow, no cowboy hat. But speaking of, put the light on a bit yellowy. Speaking of cowboy shit, I for the first time ever have bought some cosplay stuff. Yeah, it's just you'd need one, Caesar, that isn't one you have to hold your hand. You'd need one that essentially, would clip on. But yeah, so speaking of cowboys, there's actually obviously some company making these now in decent enough numbers that they're, like quite uniform looking and because I guess 3D printing with decent quality 3D printers. The NCR Ranger helmet, the Gasmaster helmet and like the red eyepieces. So for the first fucking time ever, I bought a bit of cosplay stuff just because I really like Fallout New Vegas. And even if I'm not wearing it, it would look brilliant as a backdrop on something. But yeah, that was again one of those things of, was it the best use of my money? No. But is it something that I think is fucking cool? Yes. So actually that light like that is a bit that better. Again, it's probably because the light's at a different angle again now, where it's not shining as much across on the thing. There we go. But no, I don't have any cowboy hats. Like I said, I've got a load of the PIF helmets. I'll do another video on PIF helmets, just because, again, it's one of those things where you get people online like, oh, can't PIF helmets stop bullets? Like, no. Like I said, they're just kind of like a nice sun hat, cool hat. Ah, yeah, slouch hats are cool. Now, I do have a Chinese, like, boonie hat or whatever they're called, reprinted in, let's have a look at slouch hats on eBay. But yeah, I do have a Chinese like boonie helmet, not helmet, hat that's printed in Rhodesian brushstroke, and it's that good. Like the other Chinese Rhodesian stuff, it's quite good in the sense that it's got like proper IR treating on the dies as well, so the camo pattern looks the same under IR as it does Chirai, rather than being like a uniform color. Yeah, at the moment there's 2 slouch hats on eBay. There's an old British Army slouch hat that's actually pretty cheap, but that's, I don't think, the Rhodesian style one. Let me just look up Rhodesian slouch hat. Yeah, the Rhodesian ones look pretty much the same as any of the British ones, don't they? Again, the colours vary a bit and like the insignias on them. Annoyingly, like I said, there is a slouch hat that is exactly the right type for a good price, but I reckon it won't fit me at all. Because it's 48 centimeters. And in nearly every hat I'm in, I'm always 50-something centimeters across the thing, I'm pretty sure. But for that price, right, this needs to really be the last thing I buy like this on eBay because of the fact, like I said, of, you know, needing to save money and not spend it. But I'll get that because even if it doesn't fit me, it will look fucking cool. But like I said, I really need to. This is the problem with eBay: is like you, when I'm meant to be saving money, you keep finding cool militaria. Oh, Kevin, as well. Like I said, I need to do more videos on it. But the Chinese night vision shit is really good now. And yeah, one of my friends, Steel Batoid, I'll go back to Kevin's thing in a minute. One of my friends who works in a charity shop, they had a load of South African and Rhodesian stuff come into the charity shop, and he bought it all up. So he actually has a genuine brushstroke jacket now. Like, you know, the type people sell on eBay for like 300 quid, because it's one of those quite old worn fabric ones, so you can tell it's genuine. So yeah, it was probably somebody who was in Rhodesia, went to South Africa after Rhodesia, then came to the UK, and then I think he said it was lost on TFL handed it like into the charity shop when nobody obviously claimed it after a set amount of time. So one of my mates now has a load of Rhodesian and South African stuff that who knew I listed on the train. But yeah, so with the Chinese stuff though, ADNV makes really fucking good night vision. Because they're one of the few companies that's actually good at doing digital night vision. So the ADNV night vision thing I've got is about equal, most people reckon who have used both, to the US Gen 3, whatever it is, 14s, PNV 14s, is that what they're called? PVS 14, isn't it? So yeah, they're about equal to PVS 14s. PVS 14s are a bit brighter in terms of light amplification. Obviously, because the Chinese ones are digital, you can record directly from the night vision unit with a little mounted thing, which is really cool. So, you know, it's because, again, the old problem with night vision is you had to hold a camera up to record through night vision. And you can't burn it out by looking at bright lights, which is the absolutely major, amazing thing with digitals. And again, if America wants to still be relevant with NVGs, they really need to get into doing digital. But the problem is, you see a lot with people in, obviously, I'm not saying everyone in America, but what I'm sort of saying is it's one of those things that you see a lot online. Is whenever China or another country comes up with some pretty good tech, they just go, "Oh, that country's not really going to be able to fight America in a war," blah blah blah. And it's like, that doesn't mean that their equipment isn't good. You know, and again, somewhere like China, I think, is putting a shitload into R&D of, you know, like better military tech. But yeah, like I said, if you look at my videos on it, Kevin, or some other YouTubers done videos on it, it's an ADNV. Is it the G14 SE I've got? Or is it something like the P2? I'm going to look up my video and tell you exactly what the name of my one is, because I could never fucking remember the exact number without looking it up. Mine's a G14 P2. Right, let me just put a video in the chat of what it looks like in the darkness. So, and I haven't got pop-out chat on, have I? So I need to find the tab again. That's the tab. So yeah, I mean, these are fairly expensive, but they are really, really good. So so what I first have when it's not very clear is just the IR night vision that's built into my phone, because some phones don't even have this, but my phone has a very basic, like, Gen 0 to 1 IR. Then it's the ADNV, where it says FPS 100 at the top, and you can see the everything else. Again, the main thing to look at is the beach and the foliage in that video, because obviously when I was doing it on the previous one, you can see some reflections on the water, but that's it. But obviously the ADNV is really good there. And like I said, you don't have to worry about burning it out with the things on that. So, yeah, because I've also got a Chinese Gen 2, Gen 2 Plus, what's it called? I can normally always, is it like the NNVT, something like that? I can always remember the name, but now I can't because I'm on the stream and I'm having to think about it live. NNVT, I'm pretty sure it's NNVT. Yeah, NNVT. And that's pretty damn good. Obviously, it's nowhere near as detailed and as bright as, say, US PVS 14s, but it's, again, quite a good tube at not burning itself out, and it's still a very good tube for, like walking around in the dark with and stuff like that. Oh, and the nice thing of the new ADNVs as well is they barely have any latency, which is the problem with really cheap digital night vision, that, you get that kind of like ghostly looking footage. But the ADNV stuff is pretty damn good at that. So yeah, the US does have those really cool hybrid thermals, though, don't they? That are like night visions that have a thermal overlay. So like stuff that's hotter gets outlined on an NVG kind of picture, which is cool. But yeah, so that yeah. See, like I said, I wasn't planning on necessarily being on a full hour tonight, but like I said, annoyingly, I had to waste a load of time today getting the first stream set up that didn't work properly. But oh, and the helmet over there, I really need to set up the modern British Army one. I need to set that up with saying that some night vision, putting a net like load of netting sort of camo on it again, and putting it with my bug out ship. I'm kind of wondering, do I want to buy another proper sort of camo cover for it, or do I want to kind of just bastardize a really common cheap surplus one, so it's not like I'm destroying something that's an antique? Because I was kind of thinking, if a Swiss Alpenflage cover fit on that, I might put Alpenflage on it and then just cut a hole for the night vision like Rhino mount on it. Because like I said, that helmet is really comfy and it's the best one I have in terms of ballistic protection. All right, nope. Because yeah, that helmet is the same as the current US military helmet, which is the ballistic, what do you call it, ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, is it? The stuff that is like the really cool. Yeah, so St. George's flag, the English flag. I've literally got this now to the background to streams because of the fact that the government over here absolutely hates the flags of the actual country. So out of fucking spite, I will always now have that flag in the background when I do a stream, unless we're getting something out and the flag gets knocked down or whatever. I want to hang it more up properly, but I haven't got around to doing it yet. But yeah, so English flag is it's the St. George's flag, which is why it's also very similar to the flag of Georgia, the country Georgia, because both countries have St. George as like their patron saint or whatever. And obviously that is the kind of middle bit of the Union Jack, the St. George's flag. And then you've got the flag of Wales and sort of Scotland and Northern Ireland built into it. I'm pretty sure the Union Jack. Let me just check that Union Jack components. I know the Scottish flag, the St. Andrew's flag is on there. Yeah, so you have St. George's Cross, you have St. Andrew's Cross, and you have St. Patrick's Cross. So you don't actually have a Welsh bit in it, interestingly. I always assumed there was a Welsh component to that flag as well. But yeah. Yeah, no worry, Raymond. So it's a bit like, in the US if you had state flags or whatever, but obviously. But yeah, for some reason, the English flag, because there's always been a thing where like Scots are allowed to fly the Scottish flag. Again, it's not like you're banned from flying this. It's one of those things where all of the politicians that absolutely hate the people that live here, and the very woke, all those politicians fucking have an aneurysm over this flag now. Like I said, there's been a thing going on in quite a few places in the UK now where people are just going out, putting these flags everywhere, and then the government is paying people to go and rip the flags down because they're getting butthurt over the flags. Yeah, that's the thing, Kevin. It's like they are really, really good things, aren't they? Some high-end night vision units. But like I said, white phosphor as well. I think I might actually prefer white to green with the phosphors. But no, I don't actually know that one though. I know Hitler's only got one ball and quite a lot of the others. But yeah. So now what's going on, Raymond, is in loads of places people are going out putting the flags everywhere because again, like the government is completely happy with people flying Palestinian flags, things like that, or the LGBTQ flags. You know, even if you had no problem with these people, which I kind of don't. But the problem is that, you know, it's the fact that why can't people fly the fucking flag of this country? Why is that being seen as the one that's upsetting and going to cause problems? And like I said, our government is getting into very deep trouble now with how many people are just getting fucking fed up of their shit. Because again, the problem we've had in the UK is that for about the last 20 years with our elections, all the politicians from all the different parties promise to do shit. They get elected on it and then they never do it. And I think it's getting to the point now where, you know, you're seeing a lot more sort of civil disobedience and whatever else because of the fact that, you know, people are just so fed up of being lied to nonstop. Especially when the government says they're doing something and have, you know, brought crime figures down or whatever, and then you look at the crime figures and they're actually going up. Which one's that, Nope? But yeah, but like I said, it's like in most countries, like saying in America, you could have the stars and stripes or whatever somewhere, and that should be a good thing. But yeah, it's like saying it's all these people saying no, it's dangerous to have your thing. Yeah, because again, I don't know, Kevin, how good white phosphorus is, because I obviously know green is the color to the human eye that is the most visible. So I know that's why green is normally used on night devices, because you know, there's more contrast between the colors. But Scott Morrison, right? Let me look up who that is. Is that an Aussie, Scott Morrison? Sounds like an Aussie name. Yeah, former Prime Minister of Australia. Crikey, mate! Oh shit, me drawers. Um, the only Australian Prime Minister I'm afraid I can remember really is Tony Abbott, because he was quite funny if I remember right. I don't know if he was a good Prime Minister or not, but I can remember him saying things that made him quite, you know, um, quite fake. Like, didn't he call somebody sluts or something like that? Um, yeah, I mean, it's not a good Aussie accent, but at least it's one I can do, and people know what I'm at least trying to do with it. Like, I can never fucking do Canadian. All I can say is a boot and a, but yeah, so but yeah, like I said, that seems to be the thing in a lot of Western countries is that you can't do Irish, lad. I sometimes go from Irish to Scottish if I try to do Irish. Oh, to be sure, 33 and a third. But yeah, it's probably hard to do real, genuine sounding Irish, not like Father Ted style Irish. Even though I know Father Ted is an Irish program, because the creator of Father Ted's been cancelled, hasn't he? Oh, what's his name? Should know because I listen to quite a lot of stuff he does now. Because he used to be quite woke, or like, you know, not really care about stuff, and then the left completely threw him under the bus for something. Um, yeah, because I mean, Northern Irish is quite different, isn't it? But yeah, I'm trying to think of the guy's name now. Father Ted creator Gray and Linham. That's it. Yeah, so with Gray and Linehan, I think it was a similar thing with J.K. Rowling to a trans thing or whatever. He said, you know, he could be the most allied to the left type people whatsoever. Said one thing they didn't like, they tried to completely get him cancelled. So now he appears on loads of right wing things because he's like, oh, you don't actually have a problem with me. And people are like, no, not really. Yeah. Are we racist now, Father? Should we all be racists? I won't do all the hand waving because the government will screen cap that, and then they'll raid me for being far right. Because according to Kia, I'm far right. But yeah, so but yeah, Graham Linehan, a bit like is it Jonathan Pye, the comedian Jonathan Pye, who does like those fake sort of news things? Jonathan Pye's been fucking cancelled now because he did things taking the piss out of the left and the right. But he did a couple taking the piss out of the left, and they fucking went apeshit on him because, you know, they don't have a sense of humour. Yeah, the thing I really don't get, no, so I can understand in Australia, not saying I approve of it, but I can understand, yeah, my shirt is 1984. But I can understand in Australia after Port Arthur massacre and all that, if it was Port Arthur, why they like did a lot of the gun bans like they did over here with Dunblane and Hungerford, because, you know, we had the things a bit like you, where there were a couple of mass shootings and the government used it as an excuse to make gun laws way stricter and everything. But I really don't see, because there's stuff that is even legal in the UK with no issues that is apparently like, isn't in some Australian states, isn't body armor considered like a weapon? And thanks, Joshua. Yeah, like I said, I'll try and make it a bit neater before I next do a stream, but get that specifically out for the background because it pisses off the, you know, pisses off the people that, for some reason, you know, just hate absolutely anything to do with, you know, any other countries or whatever. And again, it's like, I wouldn't be offended if I was watching somebody from another country and they had their flag in the background. Why would it offend me? Why aren't people allowed to have their flag? That used to be a common thing. But now, like we said, it's this weird thing of everybody else's flag is allowed in the UK, except the English Union Jack. You know, I'm sure in Scotland now, the SNP are probably, you know, going to try and get rid of the St. Andrew's flag and everything. When you say encryption, what do you mean, like encrypting your devices or using a VPN? What sort of thing? That is fucking insane. So, like, but I bet government people are allowed to have all their shit encrypted. Right, Raymond, I'll try and explain it because there's a load of different categories of guns over here. So basically the answer is handguns are basically fully banned except for old black powder handguns and like pistols with really weird fucking braces on them to make them, like, you know, way too big to be concealable, I guess is the idea. So if you ever see the pictures of like the UK legal handguns for ranges, they're basically like quite long barreled and they have these weird like welded on metal like braces on the back of them that are designed, I think, so you can't put it in your pocket. So most conventional guns, so rifles and shotguns are separated by law. So rifles are a Section 1 license, shotguns are a Section 2, and shotguns are easier to get the license for. I never bothered going for either because of the fact that once you apply for one of those or whatever and you own them, you're kind of only really renting the guns, as in the police can find something objectionable you did and just take all your guns away. Yeah, that's the thing, Polska. I have got some black powder guns that are fully working because, like I said, the weird thing with our laws is black powder guns, because they're considered antique or like obsolete calibers. Black powder guns, again, so I would get one of my muskets out and just pick it up and show you now, but you can't do that on YouTube anymore. But yeah, muskets, because they're considered obsolete and antique calibers. And like I said, you could even have fully live, like I've got the Martini Henry, like the Schmidt Rubin and some of those. You can actually get guns that are proper like centerfire cartridge guns, just ones that are really old, weird calibers. All right, Peach? So yeah, the Founding Fathers thing. So yes, in theory, somebody could have a load of preloaded muskets like Blackbeard. I doubt the police would take kindly to it, but legally you are allowed them, yes. It's one of those fucking weird things in the law where they've tried a couple of times to kind of clamp down on it, but luckily it's never really gone that far. Like every now and again, you know, you might have a shooting with an obsolete gun. There was one policeman that was murdered with an obsolete caliber revolver, and that led to a load of antique revolvers being removed from like the category of ones you were allowed, but other types stayed. So I've still got 2 pinfire revolvers. You know, the ones that have like the firing pin on each individual cartridge. They're really weird. Yeah, so the UK is weird. Obviously, it's way more restrictive than the US, but it's like lots of different guns fall into different categories. No, you can own cap and ball revolvers because cap and balls, if they're black powder, say like the old Colt Navies and things like that. So like a Colt Navy, yeah, you can own a Colt Navy because it's yeah, percussion cap uses black powder in it, not modern cartridges. Yeah, you can have those. Again, the funny thing is you can actually own as far as I'm aware, again I might be wrong on this, so don't take this as legal advice. But I'm pretty sure you could buy a completely brand new manufactured like Pieta Colt Navy or whatever, rebuilt Colt Navy or any of the old Colts or Remingtons from the Wild West era, or like American Civil War era, and they'd actually be perfectly legal. It's just a lot of companies don't want to sell to people in the UK who don't have a gun license, because the way they look at it, they think even if you don't legally need this gun license to buy this gun, we won't sell it to you without a gun license, because that way we're covering our arse more if you buy this and then shoot somebody with it. So yeah, I think a couple of channels I'm subscribed to and sometimes come on these in the UK have some like black powder, like cap and ball ones, like like not necessarily real Colt Navies, but those style, ones with a little folding arm for compressing the ball into it, and into the powder. Yeah, I haven't seen any in my area, Peach, but that doesn't really surprise me because my area is full of old boomer NIMBYs that probably, although they're probably quite racist in their views, aren't actually, people that would ever fly a flag or anything like that. Most of the people in my area are the ones that like, oh, I don't want any houses being built near me or any new shops because it might make my house price go down. That kind of NIMBY. If I'm not going to personally benefit from it, don't want anyone else to have it. They're like the old boomer types. Right, so here's the weird thing, Kevin. So I'm going to go off the law as best I know it, because I could be wrong. If you had a Colt Navy Repro, you could legally own it. You can own black powder up to sufficient quantities without any sort of license, but I don't actually know what the amount of black powder is without looking you can own without a license. And again, it's an explosive license for that, not even a firearms license, because it's like to do with fireworks. So basically, you could have all the materials for a Colt Navy or something like that. I think you'd be perfectly legal to shoot it as long as you're on land where you're allowed to shoot, like a firing range. So, the idea is a bit like the city limits thing in the US. I don't think you're meant to load one up and shoot it in your garden, even if none of the components are strictly illegal. But in a UK situation where you kill somebody or like maim somebody that breaks into your house with it, I think you would probably be in a load of fucking shit for it. Yeah, it from what I understand, yeah, it is like the American felony stuff, Raymond. If you're a felon, yeah. It does seem to be quite similar to that, where they've talked about that's where I've seen the stuff mentioned before about like US laws on it and whatever else. It does seem similar to that. Again, there's probably a few different nuances and things like that. But yeah, it is one of those weird things where black powder guns, for some reason, are not considered guns. Like, again, it might be considered a gun at the very moment you're shooting it. But again, you could have all the components, as far as I legally understand the law, you could have all the balls, you could have a load of lead or steel balls in your house. You could have the gun and the gunpowder right next to right next to each other on a shelf. And as far as I'm aware, that's perfectly legal up until the point you're actually loading it and shooting it if you're doing it somewhere you're not meant to be. Again, UK home defense stuff is weird because there's sometimes people have been absolutely fucking ripped apart for breaking into somebody's house, by the homeowner, killed or horrifically wounded. The person has been, charged and then let go because it's considered, that they defended themselves in good faith or whatever. And then there's been people that have blatantly done what they should have done to defend themselves and their family, and they've been, put in prison or whatever else. So again, it's one of those things where I think it really depends on the judge and jury and maybe your local police department, how you get treated if you defended yourself. Yeah, that's kind of. I heard, Kevin, there's a similar thing in Russia with that. Again, I don't know if Putin's made the gun laws worse than they used to be. But I know in Russia there used to be some stuff where, like, quite high-powered air guns and quite a lot of shotguns were allowed. Like, with shotguns, it was like, I have a feeling like Russian laws are really strict on civilians owning anything with a rifled barrel, but there were barely any rules on, like, having, a magazine-fed, smooth-bore, essentially a semi-auto shotgun kind of thing. Yeah, slam fire is where you keep the trigger pressed down, isn't it, and just work the pump or like the repeater, and it just goes off every time it chambers a new round. I did see somebody slam firing. I think it was an old one of those like varmint style rifles, like the one in Red Dead. On the 22 LR sort of pump things. Crossbows and bows are still fully legal in the UK till they come for those. And as I've said before with swords, these are one of the things that surprise a lot of people that aren't banned here, because it's one of those things that a lot of people seem to think should be restricted but aren't. And again, there's lots of stupid laws around samurai swords or ninja swords, whatever the bollocks they call them now. But thankfully most swords are still legal. The nicest one I've got here actually is the what do you call it one? The cold steel version of the 1796. Because again, this has got quite a nice sort of weight and balance, this saber. But just test the autofocus there on this new webcam. Yeah, that autofocus isn't too bad. Like, again, I think it's one of those ones where if it detects a face, it focuses on the face, but yeah. But yeah, and this has got obviously the nice handguard that you could actually punch somebody's head in with. But yeah, right, where did I put my scabbard for that? Oh, it is still there. Right, I'm just trying to make sure I don't destroy my TV or any bits of my PC or anything else as I put this sword away. But yeah, there's and like I said, the best, most fun one I've got out of all those sort of things is the one Mike built for me, the just homemade Warhammer, because this has got some serious fucking heft and clout to this thing, of a bit of bashy. Again, that's made from a roofing hammer. I think you made this from. But yeah, would not want to be on the receiving end of a Warhammer like Pick. Yeah, I did assume that you couldn't slam fire every single type of shotgun. Just see what a French boarding pike looks like. I've got, Kevin, quite a few pole arms. My favourite one is the bill hook, because obviously it's one that's traditional in this country anyway. It's French boarding axes. They're pretty cool. I assume the pike one is one that actually has a spike on the end, whereas this boarding axe is just one for But yeah, what was I going to say regarding see you, Raymond. Hope everyone in Oregon's all right. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, what was I saying about yeah? So the bill hook's my favourite of all my ones, because I've got it on about a 5 foot odd big fat wooden haft thing. So it's the really good height for me because I'm under 6 foot. So because I'm about 5'8", then having this having like a 5 foot something pole, and then having the the bill with its full spike go a bit over 6 foot is quite a good length for working with. Because I've got a proper halberd that hang on, just to prove that. See, I've got a proper halberd up there, but the problem is the halberd has to be slanted to even fit against the wall. Because of how fucking tall it is. That is almost impossible to get through a door frame halberd. So let's put the camera back at the proper angle. That's still a bit lower than it was. There we go. So yeah, the halberds are like I said, if you went with the like proper full length thing they used to use, the halberds, like I find it's obviously way too long for what you'd want. But if you have, like I said, about a 5 foot long pole, shorten it or lengthen it a bit depending on the person's height, because if they're taller, they'll manage with a taller pole fine. You get a really good kind of length, because again, one of the nice things you can do with the pole arms is slide them back and forth in your hands like that, so bring the head closer to you or further away from you. And yeah, the bill hook obviously has the main spike end on it, like a halberd, like the spearhead kind of end. It's got the cleaving sort of front bit, and then it's got the reverse beak on it, again, like a halberd head, so that you can, the idea is, I think, catching people off a horseback, isn't it, with that? I've also got a glaive. The halberd and the glaive were made, the bill hook and the glaive were made by the same guy, Richard Weaponsmith, who sometimes comes on. Oh, again, it's the chat's on a different side now because of, yeah, is this mirrored or not? No, it's mirrored the correct way, isn't it? Because you can actually read the text on stuff on this, which is quite nice with this webcam, unlike the other one. Yeah, the glaive is going to catch less on stuff, I suppose, than the bill hook, but both are quite nice. But yeah, pole arms, I think, would be one of those things that if you were in a corridor of a house and you didn't have a gun or a crossbow or something, and again, a crossbow you're not going to really get many shots off with. You better hope that if somebody was coming at you with a weapon and you had a thing, you better hope with your crossbow you hit your target first time, because you're not going to get a chance to reload it and shoot again unless it's a pistol crossbow with one of those magazines on top. But then you have to hope there's enough power in the first shot and it doesn't jam or anything. But yeah, for a corridor, yeah, there have been cases though, Kevin, here where there was one of a guy with a 1796 beating up a burglar. Hang on. Right, this is in the fucking Guardian, which is a horrible leftist newspaper. But yeah, some guy actually did fight off a burglar with a 1796. The one I was like showing earlier. But yeah, if you are in a corridor, a pole arm or a spear just going forwards and backwards is really fucking scary, because you can't really get around it, and especially with something like a bill hook, because if somebody tried to duck under it and you pulled it back, you'd get the cleaving like axe side of it onto them. Not like, again, just because I'm sure the UK government, which probably doesn't like me, would like an excuse for me to incite something. I'm not inciting anything. I'm talking about theoretical situations. But I've also, like I said, got a load of old surplus police riot shields, and the small circular riot shields are really good for having a shield on, say, your left arm while you hold something in your right arm, because the circular shields don't weigh very much. They're polycarbonate, and being fairly small, you can bring them up and down pretty quickly, but they're still going to cover most of your vitals if you move it up and down as needed. Obviously, in a corridor as well, you could actually have a proper rectangular tower shield. Yeah, you could do sword and a shield, or spear and a shield. I was saying, in a corridor as well, you could probably wedge, like, say you had it in your bedroom as an emergency thing, if it was at the back end of a corridor, you could probably wedge a riot shield, like a tower riot shield, into a door frame, and then have it at the top, of a spear or a hammer or whatever, that you could go over the top with it. Because the shield, if it's wedged in, if somebody kicks it, it's not going to do anything to the shield. People aren't going to get through that with a knife or a hammer. And yeah, trying to climb over a shield, I imagine, while somebody's behind it with a fucking axe or a hammer or whatever, isn't going to go well for the home invader. So, but yeah, like I said, so yeah, at the moment in the UK, there's a lot of weird stuff going on with nationalism and flags because of the government getting butthurt about them, which is encouraging people to do it even more. Like I said, I will be off fairly soon because I've been on over an hour now, and like I said, I annoyingly had to waste a load of time trying to set this stream up to begin with. So yeah, at least now my settings should be how I want them for this sort of streaming stuff. So yeah, so hopefully this has worked right with this microphone sort of close-ish to my face here, which is quite directional. Even if I'm going to say I'm going to try and put this on its mounting arm, see if I can actually get it to not swivel about as much. That new webcam, now I figured out how to get it to talk to YouTube properly, it's all right. But the problem was prior to this that it obviously didn't, didn't want to talk to YouTube properly. So yeah, that's that. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to try and hopefully over the next couple of days get some videos filmed. Got this weekend booked off work, which is nice. Saturday I have quite a bit of time to hopefully get some shit filmed. Sunday I'm at a family member's wedding, which should be really nice, but does mean, I won't have any time to do anything YouTube related. But at least it's not as tiring as being at work. So yeah. Cheers. I have a good day, everyone, and all that. Evening, morning, whatever time zone you're in. And yeah, right, see you all. Have a good day.